Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, actually. This is Mike Pisani. It is Thursday, June 22nd. It's 8 o'clock, and we're going to review the option activity for the day, kind of go over sentiment, and then, of course, as always, we go over your charts and what you guys want to see tonight. I am recording this. It'll be posted on Twitter a little bit later on. This is interactive, so ask questions. It's been a long week and a long day, so we'll get right into it as we start going here. So again, if you guys want to get a hold of me, it's Mike at alphashark.com or on Twitter at optionsmike. Very easy to get a hold of me. I try to answer all of your guys' questions. I'm very proactive on both. In the middle of the trading day, you might find me a little quieter just because I do trade for a living, so I'm very active trading during the day. All right. So the risk disclaimer, you guys have heard this before. Day trading, short-term trading, options trading, and futures trading are extremely risky undertakings. They are generally not appropriate for someone with limited capital, little or no trading experience, and/or low risk tolerance. Never execute a trade unless you can afford to and are prepared to lose your entire investment. All trading operations involve serious risk, and you can lose your entire investment. No trades are recommendations or advice, and we cannot be sued for loss of capital. All trades are for educational purposes only. Contact your broker or RIA for execution, margin, and other capital requirements. Everyone watching this presentation adheres to all disclaimers on optionshacker.com, alphashark.com, and of course me, Mike Pisani. Good, we got that over with. So tonight, we always start with option terms to be aware of, just because I don't know who's new and who's not. We'll go through this quickly. I want to spend some time talking sentiment with you guys tonight, because sentiment and what the market's doing are kind of going in two different directions. And if you're bullish on the market, I think it could be good. Option activity tonight, we're going to go over that. By the way, guys, it was a frantic morning. There was a ton of option activity this morning. We had a very long quiet period, then it kind of picked up again into the afternoon. We had very, very low market volume today. It was a very algo-driven market today here, but they were buying options left and right. Very bullish in general. I'm always going to, guys, present my service offering, and then, of course, we end every evening with your charts. So let's dive into it. So terms, what you need to know about so you can keep up with me whenever I do my nightly video or have one of these webinars to go. We talk about sweeps all the time. Sweeps are the most aggressive form of an option bet. This is somebody who doesn't care how much they pay. They go across multiple exchanges to get their fill as quickly as possible, and is the most aggressive. So to give you an example we'll talk about later is AMD. The last couple of days they have been sweeping weekly options as fast as they can get them, piling them up quickly across every exchange. And that stock just kept reacting to it, up, up, and up. A block is negotiated through one exchange. This is typically a fund that wants to take a options position, puts or calls, and they negotiate that price through one exchange. It can still be very bullish, but there's no urgency to it. By the way, something I want to point out, when you see a block and then followed by sweeps, that means that they're trying to get aggressive in that name. So you got to watch for that. Split is the same thing as a block, but it's usually through two exchanges. And tied to stock, really not clear of the buyer's intent. If you see calls tied to stock, the player could be short. You're just not sure what's going on there, and vice versa. Don, great question. So Don is asking, this is the end of the quarter. Do you feel this market will run based upon the window dressing? So Don, I think tomorrow is going to be a rough day. I think if we're going to get window dressing, it's going to be Monday, Tuesday, and the first half of Wednesday next week. That's typically what we see. And then I think Thursday and Friday, I had to check my calendar real quick to make sure they could be quieter. So I do think we're going to see some window dressing. The market has held in. It's up for the month of June. So I would expect that unless there's some drastic news that comes out between now and Monday morning, we're going to see some sort of window dressing. Good question, by the way. More option terms, call put seller. We saw a couple lately, players selling puts or calls often associated with willing to take the stock at that price. So If a player sells puts, they're willing to own the stock at that price. If they sell calls, they're willing to give away their stock at that price. So sometimes we see a call seller selling top. We've seen that in the banks and in some of the credit card stocks in the last couple of weeks. And we see put selling in names like Twitter and FireEye in the last couple of weeks as well. Volume, how many calls or puts been traded in that strike in a given day. The more volume means the more active it is. We like to look at volume versus open interest. When volume exceeds open interest, we know there's a lot going on there. We're 100% sure they're not closing out the position they were in. Remind me to show you guys AKS today. It was very interesting. Lastly, the size of the bet in dollars. I've seen guys that get all excited because somebody buys 25,000 shares of AKS that are 5 strikes out of the money and they're 3 cents. That's great, but there's no dollar value behind it. I'd rather take on a player like today and win that bought 300 155 December 155 calls and laid out almost $600,000 to do that. That player is showing me conviction. All right, you guys have any questions on option terms and where we're going to go from here? Good. So let's spend a little time talking about sentiment, and I put this all into the PowerPoint for you guys. So every day I'm looking at sentiment. Are we too bullish, too bearish? Are we looking for a short-term squeeze, a long-term squeeze, looking at the overall put-to-call levels in the market? There are subscription services you guys can pay for out there, but there's a lot of stuff you can get for free. I've gone over this many, many times with you guys, so I just want to touch on it tonight because I'm seeing divergences. So let's start with the first one, the Fear and Greed Index from CNN. If you go Google Fear and Greed Index, this is going to be your first hit every time. So what's changed? Yesterday we were down in fear. We closed neutral, but we are slipping under neutral. What I like about stuff like this is the lower we are, the less likely of a major sell-off we're going to get without news. So if you're thinking that this market's about to crash and burn here, what I'm going to show you tonight may change your way of thinking. Yep, we can always crash and burn. News always trumps technicals, and I will preach that to the end of my day. Kind of like Nike last week. Remember we talked about Nike? But we are getting very bearish on a lot of this stuff. And the further this goes without the market really selling off, the less likely we are to get some type of correction in the market. So you can see we're slowly fading down here. StockTwits, guys, this is free. Everything I'm showing you here is free. You guys can go get this for free. There's no charge, nothing you have to do. You can go get this. So when we talked about the SPY last time I did a webinar, we were up at 70%. Look at the drop now. We actually bounced a little bit today in sentiment. We got down to about, I think it was 50%, just shy of 50%, maybe 51. But we're way off that 70% bullish high we hit about a week and a half ago. On the Qs, very similar. We're up at 80%. We've now dropped down to 66%. We were at 60% the other day. This little bit of corrective activity, and I don't even know if corrective is the right word, but just a little bit of pulling back in the markets has wiped out a lot of that very extreme bullish sentiment. I always found that for me, when things get too bullish, I get very tight with my money. I trade small, I trade good setups or real big option flow, but when the market's overall too bullish, I find that chances of a pullback are greatly increased. The risk is much greater to the reward there. Now we're getting back into an area I'm much more comfortable with. This is an area we seem to just kind of hover around and we can bounce off of here. So something to keep an eye on. Oops, sorry about that. Oscillators. You guys follow me on Twitter. You know I post these from time to time. So unfortunately, the NIMOT did bounce today. We were lower yesterday. We got a little bit of bounce today, but not big. But what I like to look at here, and I don't know if you can see my mouse, is when you get these big drops, look at the snapbacks you get. The lower we can get this, the better. The last time we came down here, we got a nice snap. We're trading in a very tight range, but it tells me that, again, if this market's going to cliff dive, there's not a long way for it to go. It's not like it's coming from here and going to go down to here. It's already halfway to that line. Peter, oscillators measure basically are a measurement of advanced versus decliners in the market and a great indicator of when the markets are getting overbought or oversold. So when you have too many stocks making all-time highs and advancing on a daily basis, this thing heats up very quickly. And it starts coming down as you have less and less. So we see this a lot. One of the things I track, we'll show you today, is advanced decliners on Thinkorswim. It's similar, not quite the same, Peter. It's a little bit off. Google it. You'll get some good information on it. I don't have a full description in front of me, but very, very similar. I have found this to be a very accurate indicator on times to go long, big, or not, or to be short, or to be careful. You'll see also the NMOT and the NAMOT. There's different versions of this, just so you're aware. So for me, this is good. NASDAQ, negative. The NAMOT, negative as well. This bounced a lot today, by the way, because of Apple. Apple had a rip at one point that pulled the Qs up with it, and that was a lot of this big bounce we saw today in this. So just realize that, overall, this is good. We want to be negative. When we're negative, the chances of getting a massive sell-off are much less likely. You can even see it when you look at these. You don't tend to get them. You tend to get the big dips after you have a big rise. All right, so you guys want to take a look at today's action, right? See what I did my video on, see what we talked about today, and see what we went over. So let's start off with the markets themselves. And if you guys played today and you had a rough day, there's a good reason for that. I just talked about this in the subscriber-only webinar I did 2 hours ago. So do you see this pattern here in the SPY? And you can kind of see it in the Qs as well. Do you guys have any idea what that is? Have you ever heard of this one before? Anybody can answer? I'll give you 1 free month in the room, my service. Look at the SPY. Look at this pattern today. Nope, Robert, not a head and shoulder. Not a head and shoulder, guys. Not a J-hook. Helen, you should know, you were there. Nope. 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we'll give you another chance for another one later. Nope. This is called a trapdoor. It's reverse trapdoor. Can you see it? We opened, we went sideways, we came up, got people trapped. There's a lot of longs trapped up here now. And then we pulled and closed right back where we were. Can you guys see that now? Reverse it in your mind. What would it look like, right? You had a trapdoor. It's just a reverse of it. Okay? So we had a trapdoor pattern today on extremely light. Look at the volume today on the SPY, 44 million shares, nothing here. We had an extremely light trapdoor pattern. Does this mean it's game over? No. Retreat's pretty close, Martin, but not what I was looking for. I can make it bigger. I would absolutely make it bigger. Does that help for you? Okay. Again, think of a trapdoor, right, would be you come over, go down, and come up, right? It's just a reverse of it, just in the other direction. All right, so now you guys know it. So next time I answer this, when we have a webinar, somebody's going to get it. So keep it in mind. This is classic algo-driven manipulation. Low volume goes sideways. Somebody kicked in a buy program. We kept it very sideways for a long time and tight, and then we sold off in the final 30 minutes and flushed and trapped a lot of people up here going into tomorrow. This doesn't mean it's long, game over, a long time. It just means it was manipulative action. When you look at the SPY today, look how tight it traded. We traded between the 8 and the 21 day. Yesterday we had a tight range, a narrower range today. We're trading very, very, very narrow. Let me bring the Qs in here. So I'm going to pull this down. Qs tried to break this range and didn't quite get through it today and hold it. It's trying. It gets above here, it takes off. They are purposely manipulating the market right now. They want everyone guessing. What I just showed you with sentiment leads me to believe I think we're going to get a breakout higher at this point. Not only do they want time, Robert, they don't want anybody participating. So look at the Qs today. I'm going to take in a highlight. Look how narrow. So we had this gap up. Look at this range here. So from roughly 1 o'clock to something, we traded in a 10-cent range. Was it 10 cent? 6 cent, I'm sorry, 7 cent range on the Qs. That's not human trading. That's programs. These were programs that were just sitting there going sideways, manipulating the Qs and chewing option premium tomorrow. That's all we saw. So I wanted to go over this with you guys just because I wanted to make sure you guys could see this, understand what I'm talking about today and as we move forward. So let's go into the action and let's talk about what we did see today in the options market, which was incredibly, incredibly bullish, right? Very few put buyers today. I was struggling to find them. So first of all, right here on the SPY, I want to bring that up because it was a standout bet on the SPY today. So you can see my arrow here. That's where it came in. They came in today on the SPY and they did the October 243 calls, $1 million worth of them on a block that was clean. It was not tied to stock. So long term, very bullish. The Qs on the open saw a bull combo. They sold the June 30th 131 puts, 18,000 of them, to buy 18,000 of the June 30th 141 to 144 call spreads. Okay. I point out the options on the indexes because not everybody trades everything the same, and some people like to trade just the indexes. So I want you guys to be aware of this. IWM today, right here, caught a bet. Again, distinguishable bets. There's lots of options flow. These are things that stick out to me. They flag for me. July 7th, 141.50 calls, $200,000. So we had bullish bets on the indexes today. This is a good thing. So let me talk about puts real quick because there's only two that I really captured that I thought about. PPC, and boy did they nail this one and drill it and drill and drill it. PPC, they came after the September 19th and 20 puts over and over and over again. So bring it up the screen now. I hope you can see it now. Look at the volume on the 20s. They kept coming all day long on these. Kuma, what I do on identify clean and tie to stock, I will look at the options come in and I look for big blocks of stock going off around it, Kuma. And if no big blocks around go off within like 5 or so minutes, it's usually clean. Make sense? These guys tend to do everything together. So if they're gonna use options to replace stock, they tend to go off at the same time within a very close proximity. So if you guys like shorts, this one is one I would take a look at. This is big volume. Look at what's going on. Look at July. Look at August. Nothing. I'm sorry, August. Yep. There's nothing like this. This is the largest position of open interest by far in this name. By far. So again, if you're like to be short and play these, I would take a look at this. All right. I want to talk about AKS before I go into some of the other names. AKS Steel, because I want to bring that back up. So you guys have been following me. You know I like the steel names. And by the way, guys, I do think within the next week or so, the steel names are going to explode because I do believe that Trump is going to block Chinese steel from coming to this country, and we're going to see a massive move, and these guys are playing for it. How do I know they're playing for it? You see all these arrows here? These are all option plays that have come into it. I point this stuff out in the service every night. We go over this ad nauseum. Why am I concerned about AKS Steel? Because I can't quite understand what they were doing today. So I want to bring this up to you and show you the July 8 calls. So I started seeing blocks of 25,000 come in together. 25's on the bid, 25 on the ask. Then 15 on the bid, 15 on the ask, and 10 on the bid, and 10 on the ask. And I thought maybe they might be closing this out, but open interest exceeded volume exceeded open interest, sorry. My daughter just walked in the door, so sorry about that for a second. She's been at work. Caught me off guard. So volume exceeded open interest. So I'm going to have to look at this. So this is, guys, if you want to play steel, look at this tomorrow. See what they did here. See how this plays out, because if this is added to this, that's huge. And not to be undone, X saw its daily call super. By the way, look at this cluster in X. Look at what they're doing here. They keep buying X over and over and over again. Today they hit the July 14th, 23 calls, $100,000 plus of them. But the real action today was in biotech. So you guys all follow me on Twitter, I hope, because I post a lot of stuff there for free. So if you don't want to subscribe for my service, guys, I'm still always going to do what I do on Twitter for free. So you guys all follow me. If not, Options Mike on Twitter, please do. A couple days ago, I posted and I said I think the IBB is going to 320 quick. Arrows indicate, Peter, option pies. That's what I use to identify it. So when I talk, you can see it. So if you go back to, what's a good name? Let's go back to AX. If you look here, if you look at the time, you can see where they came in. That's what I do that for. So right here, look at the 15-minute chart. You can see that buyer, where he came in. So I know now if that player is underwater or above water. So I put those on there, so then every day on a daily chart it shows me this. So this is not done by design. This is now forming a cluster showing me that the bullish activity is just overwhelming in this name right now. Make sense? So you missed the IBB. A lot of people missed the IBB. They did not forecast it. They did not broadcast it. If you missed it, do not chase this. Look how extended it is from the 8 to 21 day here. Yeah, Peter, I plot those manually. I take the time to do that throughout the day. And then every night in my video recap, I go over all this with everybody, the option flow and where it came in and what I think is still playable. So like today, you're basically getting a free version of what I do. I love the IBB here. I do not think this is done, but you cannot chase it up here. Ultimately, I think we're going to 340. Why do I think we're going to 340? I'm going to have to go back a little further because I'm looking for it to come up into the top of this resistance. 320 was the bottom for me. 340 area is the top. Chris, nothing I saw that stood out. There's always a lot of calls and puts bought every day on stuff, but nothing that was smart money making bets. Does that make sense? So I think we need some consolidation here, and then we head up towards that 340 area, maybe even up as 345. But it needs a little bit of sideways action. The reason I wanted to point out the IBB here is because the flow today into some of these names was unbelievable. HCNP, it's a biotech, it's a smaller one. I think this one is still playable. So guys, if you feel like biotech, but you don't want to chase the names that have moved a ton, take a look at this name because they came into the January 15 calls over $500,000 worth of them. You have a gap. Can you see it on the chart? Right here. It just poked its head into it today. Closed right at it. Here's your 50-day. I think this one is a plug you can play with, get a move up to. If it really wants to go, it's just starting. I would look for your next resistance up around this 14 point. That's $3. If you want to play it with common or buy long-term options. Do not go short-term. Follow them. They went to January 15s. Take something like that or something around that time. Gilead. This name has been death forever. They wanted this thing today in the worst way. I can't even tell you all the option flow into it, but they were into the July 71.50s, the June 30 to 70s, and at the end of the day, they came and they nailed the July 71s again. Now, for me, I called resistance today earlier on at this 200-day. I thought that would be the top. I was pretty close. It kind of bust through and came back. It's extended, but if these rests, this is a name that has been just beaten the hell out of, I would look to come back to. Look at this downtrend on a one-year chart that just broke it, right? Do I need to draw that for you guys? Can you see it? Just broke it. Give it a couple days of rest, see if they come back to it. Let the moving averages catch up. If there's one thing I can actually impart upon you guys is anything that gets extended off the 8 and the 21 day eventually rests and either comes back towards it or lets them catch up. I like the 8 and the 21 day. If you like the 10 day better, go for it, dude. I'm not going to argue with you. Take the 10 day. But whatever it is, you can see it's extended here. It needs some sideways action. Very bullish, though. You saw me today. I was joking around with a buddy of mine on Twitter, VRX. The option flow today was off the charts. I was in the room. I was hammering people to get long this, and nobody wanted to listen to me. So what was so great about VRX today? You could trade this with common. They started coming into this into the weekly 14s, the June 30th 16s, the June 20th the weekly 1550s, back and forth all over these strikes here. And at the end of the day, somebody came in and bought the January 1750 calls over $600,000 worth. You could take something like this, and even if you waited and hesitated to pick a spot, you could have taken it here. You could have gotten it here at 1490 area, and even if you weren't perfect, you could have closed out the day at 1540 with a 40 to 50 cent gain on common on 1,000 shares on a cheap stock. You don't always have to play everything with options, guys. I've been pointing this out to people. This is a name here. I don't like the name, but there's a huge short presence on it. I think it's going to go higher. But again, don't chase this move. Let it consolidate against the 200-day and give it a couple sessions. My hope, guys, if you're listening to my webinars, you're putting these on lists. You're making lists of things I like and talking about and to look at and going from there. So to complete out biotech, Pfizer had call activity today into the August 35s. It was nothing special, though. Amgen caught another buyer. We had a buyer here today of the July 182.50 calls. We had a buyer yesterday. Again, extended like most of biotech here at this point. Point I want to make to you guys is they like biotech. John, a lot of that move was due to shortcomings covering, but there's still a huge amount of shorts in that thing. Just go out to yahoo.finance.com. It'll show you the percent of shorts. It's massive. Oh, Helen, I'm glad to hear that. That makes me very, very happy. Thank you. So biotech just kept picking it up. I want to go to consumer staple, CPB. Campbell Soup has been a buyout rumor magnet. Not the best flow into it today, but they came here into blood on this chart. It was 3 times normal volume, and they bought the July 55 calls. Something to keep an eye on. Something to just, I don't know, put it on there, keep an eye on it. It's oversold. Just something to keep an eye on here. Some of these guys that come into blood, it's good. Let's talk about a name that's been beaten up, Twitter. This is today, day 2 of buying in Twitter. You see they were buying this yesterday, and they were buying short-term options. Today they started going into long-term. They were buying December 21 calls, 5,000 of them in one sweep. They bought more of them as the day went on. See if I can pull this up for you guys. I don't want you guys to ever think I'm lying to you guys. So you see here, they started at 4,900 and they ended the day at over 6,000 of these on Twitter. Another name with lots of short interest. They also went into the August 20 calls. Dun, 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 6,000 of those right here. Something's up here, guys. I'm not saying that this thing is going to be bought out. I'm saying they're moving this thing, they're playing with this name, and they're putting down some decent sized bets on it. I like this name. I own Common. I've been underwater on it. My buyout, my break-even point's around 929, so I'm not too far away from it. But I've been holding this thing forever, and I do think this thing eventually is going to turn. So keep an eye on it. Another name I've talked to you guys a ton about today caught fire. FireEye. FireEye, look at this on the daily chart. Waking up. They came in today. They were going after the August 20 calls. No huge number, but look at these. They kind of stand out like a sore thumb. They also were doing some stuff, moving things around. There was action in the weeklies. Do not lose track of FireEye. The reason is it's a hot sector. Goldman Sachs loves this name. They have a price target of 18 on it. I'm not saying it's going to get bought out. I do like the name here very much. All right, so we're half hour in. Let me get into some other stuff. FLR. FLR, another one of those really nasty stocks, been beaten up. But if you like the stock, they came after the July 45 calls. And you see they came on the open when it was at the low of the day. Something to keep an eye on if something you like. And again, I say this something you like because we all trade differently, right? We all have different names we like to trade and want to trade. So every day my goal is to try to give you a really good sampling and overview of the flow and what's still good and what was tradable that day. So Twilio, I've been talking about this for a while, in the gap, filling it, tried to go today, pull back. Guys, this is a name you need to put on your radar tomorrow. They were buying the August 32 calls. If this wants to get going, this thing can hump through this gap pretty quickly. That is a big, excuse my language, a big ass gap in Twilio. That is a massive gap. When you look at this name, you go back to a year, it's come down a lot, consolidating. Now it's got this gap. If it gets to fill this gap, it's going to be a nice play. I love gap fills and names. So keep an eye on that one. The solars caught a lot of attention today. I'm not sure how much I want to buy this. The reason is there was an article and some rumors that they're going to change the wall along the Mexican border to a solar wall. Yeah, okay. Let's see how good that works when they start breaking down the panels to get through. But besides from that, CSIQ caught some action yesterday. They came back again today. Big wick on it though, but they came in and they were all over the July 1850 calls multiple times, July 18 calls, and the January 20 calls caught a big bet. By the way, the October 18 calls caught a $700,000 bet into it. So I don't know. Not my cup of tea. That doesn't mean you guys shouldn't trade it. First Solar was not to be left out, but not as bullish. Caught the June 30th 138.50s, and we saw them sweeping the July 45s as well, and a couple weeklies into the 38.50s. Costco got murdered on Amazon buying Whole Food Markets. You can see by my candles here, they've been trying to buy calls in this every day. Today they were a little more aggressive into the July 162.50 calls, but they came in a couple times early and you can see it did nothing. Honestly, guys, you see the 200-day down here on my chart? See that green line? That's the 200-day. There's a reason I am waiting on Costco, and I like Costco. So I'm going to show this to you. Look at the charts. They tell tales. Not only is the 200-day here, we're in a gap. Can you see this? There's a gap to be filled here, to be finished being filled. So I'm kind of waiting until that gap finishes filling here at this point. Unless the flow gets overwhelming, I'm not chasing this. Just no flow today, but Walmart had flow yesterday. No, sorry, not WFT, Walmart. Walmart's acting better. Anybody want to bet idea why Walmart's acting better? Anybody have any clue? Oh, Robert, don't talk to me about Dollar Tree. I'm still sitting in that. Any idea? Walmart bought Jet. They got into the gap. No, it's not the no gap. Walmart competes with Amazon better online. Thank you, Murphy. T. Murphy, thank you. They bought Jet earlier this year. They compete better, so they're better positioned to hold up. All right, so enough on that one. I like Walmart here better than Costco, bottom line. That's why I showed you that. Yelp. I made money on Yelp today. So Yelp right here, there was a sweeper into the weekly 29 calls. I bought 1,000 shares of common right around here, sold it up into this area, and got out. There was a rumor that Google was buying them. I don't believe the rumor. We get rumors on Google all the time, on Yelp all the time, but the option flow came in before the rumor, which gave me the chance to get into it. You notice I didn't trade it with options, right? I traded with common. There's a reason. I can keep my stops tighter. I don't have to worry about the jacked IV on something like that because that caught a lot of attention. Look at the volume on that. All right. You ready for the day's winner? MDRX. Anybody know this name? Because I didn't. This is the first I've heard of it today. Nope, not AMD, Robert. Yep, MDRX. I know nothing about what these guys do. What I do know is they bought 13,000 July 13 calls, and they started early in the day, yep, all scripts, and just kept going all day long, right into the close, all day. That is over 100 times normal volume, opens by far the largest position of OI. So if you like that, we can go to that. I'm not going to show charts on these guys, but C caught some flow, nothing big, but they caught July 65s and June, this week 63.50s. Morgan Stanley caught some July 47.50 calls. Nothing huge, nothing that gets me excited about the banks here, so I didn't want to waste time with that with you. By the way, you guys who caught MDX, nice job. Lending Club, I am going to point out, this is day 2 of buying in Lending Club. They bought the October 5 calls today. I don't remember what they bought yesterday. Let's go see if I can see it. Let's go see if I can identify it real quick. There's your August. Yeah, so they were probably coming into the 6s and 7s yesterday, now that I remember. So they like Lending Club here. They like it a lot. It's not a name I play very often because it's been just a pig. It's subject to buyout rumors, but we'll see. If you like Pandora, I do not trade Pandora anymore, but they caught a January 7 call buyer, $1 million worth of it. Every time this thing gets a buyout rumor, it goes lower. Only way I think you can play this is with common, even now. I mean, if somebody buys, there's no catalyst for this company besides a buyout. Does that make sense? So if you're going to play this, you need to play it long term and play it with an all or nothing risk attitude. So I don't touch something like that. We went over, oh, BABA, made money on BABA today. So BABA, where we go. So I made before the call buyer came in. So a friend of mine bought BABA into the close yesterday. Sorry, on a 1-minute chart. That explains why. Okay. And I said I didn't think that was a good idea, and I waited. So I bought as it came up to my green line I had here today. And I used this reversal candle Just take notice of it, get in, got out up here for a nice gain, did not ride it high enough. Clint, I don't think those were clean. The ones that I saw today that were clean were the June 30th 152.50 calls. Those January, BX. Oh, I'm coming to BX, bud. Sorry. I thought you meant Bob. I'm like, what are you talking 130? I haven't gotten to BX yet. Sometimes I'll get to BX in a second. Sometimes calls are tied to stock or stock replacement. They sell their stock and buy calls just in case they're wrong. That's not very bullish. So BABA today, next week, this chart on a daily still looks good. This thing trades intraday as sloppy as any name out there right now. You got to buy weakness in this name, not buy long. You'll see the block go off. If you're watching the stock, you'll see a large block of stocks sell within minutes before or after the option purchase comes in. I like that. AMD, guys, you brought that up. AMD caught a lot of action today. Also caught some put action late in the day. You cannot chase this. That's why I'm not spending a lot of time on it. You wanted to talk about BX. You got it, bud. January 37 calls came in, and they came in size, and they also came into the December 36 calls. This is day 2 of call buying into BX. They started buying this yesterday. You see my chart? One here, and then they start coming in here. If you like the space and you like the name, this is something you should be looking at. I do want to spend some time on your charts, so let me hurry up here a little bit. CRM, another name called a huge buyer. Nothing in MU today, Neil. Today was quiet day on MU. Go figure. They have earnings next week, though, so that's probably why. CRM caught a massive 900,000 purchase of the September 90 calls, a block of it here. We've seen some buying coming in. This name is trying to break this area and to try and negate this big down candle. I agree, Robert. I would watch this name here. This name can move large if it wants to. Buffalo Wild, strange, doesn't catch up much stock action. Somebody tried to buy this closed week, but they did come in and they did take a tickle at the August 135 calls here. Stock looks horrible, buying into blood. Nothing in Netflix today, Don. They just rolled out weekly options from this week to next week, the 155s. Wasn't very bullish. They didn't lay any wood. Win. I do want to show you Win, and then we're going to move on to your charts, okay? Win. Win today, right here. See this big candle? They came in and they bought the December 155 calls and the December 160 calls. It was not a spread. They came in simultaneously, over $1 million in there and gone. This is a name, somebody's making a long-term bet on it, and I do think the name holds up well as we move forward. All right. So before I get to your slides, if you guys like what I'm talking about, I do this every night. Every day as the market's closing, you get a video out to you anywhere from 10 to 20, sometimes 25 minutes, depending upon the day's action, talking about what I thought about the day in the markets, what the option flow was like, and what I traded. So you get a video recap Monday through Thursday. We actually do it Monday through Friday, so I have to rechange that because I've been getting them out on Fridays every day. Every Thursday night at 6 o'clock, there's a couple of people in here. We do an educational training. My goal is to try to make you guys better traders. Every day, week, we do a half an hour where we go over educational, how to trade options and just how to trade in general and different thoughts and help you guys out with current positions you're in. And then every third Saturday, the day after options expiration, you guys get a boot camp, 1 hour to 2 hours, where we have prearranged topics and also a place for you guys to ask questions and get everything answered you're looking for. Sign up. Please go to alphashark.com/bestcoaching. First month is $99. Renews at $149. AK is now thrown in an educational workshop subscription included. You get educational material every month. And if you're already a member of the room, there's a special rate. Just hit me at mike@alphashark.com or on Twitter at optionsmike, and I'll get that for you. So I hope you people who are not currently subscribers, you take a look at this and sign up. Guys, I don't want to waste your time. I know you guys like looking at charts, so start posting charts. We'll start taking some look at these. There is a trading room, Martin, Alpha Shark. You can sign up for it there. I moderate for an hour and 15 minutes in that each day. All right, Don, you're up first with BA. We'll come back to we'll come back to that in a second. All right, BA. So BA, look at the RSI, heated. It can get there and stay there. It's moving nicely. It's a little bit off the 8-day. I'd like to see the 8-day catch up before I would take another shot on this one, Don and JD. Both of you guys asked on this one. So I would play it cool here for now, and we'll see where it goes. I do love the chart. I think this thing is beautifully set up. It got out of the Bollinger Band, it's going sideways. Excuse me. Facebook, guys, we're a stone's throw from all-time highs. This was the move here. Boom, boom, boom. Couldn't quite go today. So today we got a little reversal candle again. We've seen this a couple times in the name, and then it reverses. Watch for it to reconnect with the 8-day tomorrow and try it there off of that. All-time highs here right around 155.50 area. So it's getting close. I do like the setup here on this name and how it's been behaving. Facebook, by the way, is a name that always seems to really like to go off of weakness. It just seems to like that more than others. Don, Apple is on off my go-to list. I got to be honest with you. I was watching it today. It is in this sector. It is one of the worst names right now. It cannot recapture and hold the 8-day. It has not regained anywhere near as much as the other names in this sector. It is close to oversold. I like that, but it's got no catalyst now until the iPhone 8, which is not until October. So I'm not saying it's game over. I'm not saying I wouldn't trade it if the right option flow came in. I'm just saying be careful with this one right now. I think it could just as easily pop above here as fall back onto the 100-day moving average right here. Amba. Amba. That's not a name I get very often. Ambarella. All right. Ooh, I haven't looked this one on. Thanks, Jerry. I'm going to widen this chart out, guys. Give me a second to bring it back up. Yeah. Okay. Let's pull up some stuff here to make this easier to see. All right. Give it a second for the chart to refresh. All right. So you have support here in this area. You can see that, right? You have a previous high. You have support low. You have here and here again. So Jerry, I like this area on it. I like it because RSI is also oversold. The 8-day is still in control though, so it needs to take that out to get really long on this here. If it cannot hold here, you do have a gap not far below. So if this thing wants to plummet, you could quickly see this 42.50 area. Okay? So I like this area. You can try a bounce versus the low here. So I would try a bounce versus the low, but that is it. I would not let it go below that. Amba, ABV, ABVV. I love ABV when they come for it. Oops, let me get this back. Sorry, guys. Let me get my chart back to where I want it. Make it easier for you guys to read. Give it a sec. Okay. Dude, what a move. I mean, look at this. This thing started going before the rest of biotech started going. Do not chase this here. Let it come back in. Let it cool off a little bit. RSI is 86. It's out of the Bollinger Band here and way off the 8-day, but beautiful chart. If you're long it, trim and trail. If you're long it and you started down here, I'd move my stop up and go with the 8-day at this point. How? Oh man, I don't know. These energy names, it's all based on crude here at this point. There is no good support for Hal here. And let me do this. Hang tight. I'm gonna call an audible, and you guys have to deal with it. I posted this on Twitter this morning, guys. So I want to show this to you. Based on oil, we have just touched the November low and we held. Can you guys see this? Crude is a major problem for this market. I did want to talk about this. We are in a nasty downtrend. This is it. If we do not hold here, the markets are going to react. So if you think we can hold this spot, we're good. But all the rest of the energy names, if we can't hold here, they're all going lower. And right now, all I see in crude is an oversold bounce. So I don't want to get you guys upset or anything along those lines. So I see no support here in Howe. This is not a name I would be looking to go long or short. It is out of the Bollinger Band, so we'll probably get some kind of reversal here shortly and extended, but I wouldn't look for anything more than that on these names. Amba, please look at Howe. AMD, why not AMD? Come on, man. AMD's easy. Listen, if you're telling me you're going long on AMD forever, great. It just had its massive move from 1125 to 1440. Fill this gap here. Here, let me make it easy for you. Fill this gap. Getting overbought here at this point. It's not that I don't like it long term, but I wouldn't buy it here. I'd buy it lower or consolidation. I'd wait till the risk reversal went back into my thing. Peter, I think if crude breaks that support, it's going to pull the markets down like we saw last February. I think the IWM's hanging by a thread and the SPY's getting hit with it as well. And if those two sectors go, I do not believe the Qs will hold up on their own over time. So just an FYI, my thoughts. JD, guys, I love JD. They've been buying options on this. I think this is go back to all-time high. I like this name in the Chinese space. I like JD and I like Baba. Those are the names I really like in that space. Great stock. I would buy this here now if you wanted it. ZN, no idea what that one is. All right, Kathleen. The thing I got to tell you about when you play these low float stocks, they do not trade technically. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know why it's popping like this in this space. There must be news. If you're in it and you have a profit, protect it fiercely. But these things do not trade technically. They trade on their own merits. So, you know, just be aware. Tiva. Waking up here has had a rough, see this big down channel has been broken. Waking up here, just starting. So these are some of the names I'm starting to look to. If you think the biotech's going to rally, that's a nice name to look at here. Tiva, these names that have not yet run. Brian, SPY, I'd rather look at the SPX if you don't mind, if that's okay with you, bud. The reason is it doesn't have the dividends in there. It's the cash index, and I like that better because it's cleaner when I can find it. What did I do with it? You know, you've been doing too much today. By the way, this is my second webinar video tonight. It's been very busy. So SPX got a little close to the RS, getting up there in RSI, pulled back. We're still above the 21-day. We're hovering right in the 8-day. Here's your breakout, that blue line I drew here. We're still well above it. The 50-day is moving up. I think it's just relaxing here, waiting for a move. I kind of still like this here. Still looks good to me. CLVS. That thing had a monster move, if I remember right. Yep. Big gap on that news, extending here. This is a name you buy on A dips. You don't chase something like this, but you buy on dips. So if you're in it, protect your profits. You should have a stops at the gap. So I put a stop right around, not right at the gap, but a little bit below it because you know they love to come back and test those and get people out. If you're not in it, wait for it to dip and then get in there. What else? CLVS. We did USO with the oil. Same thing as that one. BIB. BIB had a big move. Getting extended here out of the Bollinger Band. Let it come back in. I would let all these come back in. Do we have a downtrend here? Did it break it? All right, hang on. Now you can make me look. Yep. Well, kind of. Not the best drawing. Not the best drawing I've ever done short quickly. Yeah. So you're right up in a downtrend here on BIB. I think it looks good, but let it consolidate back above the 200-day now. Let it consolidate this move a little bit. Again, guys, all these big biotechs, let them consolidate. Wait a couple days, then get back into them, then chase them. UFO, Clivis, BIB, so Tesla, VRX. So Tesla, guys, it's in a world of its own. Looks great here. Keeps working off RSI. Every dip to the 8-day has been buyable. As weak as it looked this week, it held the 8-day every time. Every dip to the 8-day is buyable. If you should get so lucky, try it versus the 8-day. What else we got going here? That cat, cat. We were talking about cat today with some people I trade with. The July 110 buyer is still sitting in open interest. They didn't sell. It had 2 violent down days. It's at the bottom of the Bollinger Bands. I'm looking to bounce it here, especially if I can get some options flow. So I still kind of like this name. I think this one can come back up. I don't think this is game over yet. Western Digital, we saw a big call sweeper yesterday on that one. Out in time. A lot of money spent. This name looks decent. It's in a good space. It's consolidating this big move here, creating a nice consolidation pattern. Better to buy versus the bottom of the Bollinger Band than up towards the top on breakouts, but I still think this name looks good. JD, we talked about, yeah, and Oracle. Oracle had earnings, guys, so you have a new gap to trade against. So, you know, for me now, you have a range. Trade it between these two numbers. If it gets into the gap, try to short it. If it goes higher, go long with it. Right now, it looks like, you know, you got to let it catch up. It closed weak, but you got to let this catch up here at this point. It didn't close weak, closed strong, sorry. Looks good. I wouldn't buy it here, though. I try to let some things catch up on it. NVIDIA is biding its time, guys. NVIDIA is buying its time. Come on, load. There we go. It's riding the 8-day still. It's holding it into the close every session. It is taking out this area that was resistance. It just doesn't have power right now. The focus has been on AMD. Maybe they come chasing for this one tomorrow. OKE? I don't know that name. OKE, losing my voice. So you see this CMF, money's flowing out still. All the technicals are turned down. It's at the bottom of the Bollinger Band. Do we have a channel? Yep, we have a channel. It's not clean, but it's close. OKE, I would try trading long versus the bottom of that channel. CVX, like the rest of crude, is going to do whatever crude does at this point. BIB, we went over. Harish, if you've subscribed, you should have gotten the email for my YouTube segment. Email me at options at mike@alphashark.com, and if you're subscribed, I'll email it back to you. BIB, TLT, guys, I don't know. Bonds are all over the place lately. Nothing's acting right here in the bond segment. At the top of the channel, at the top here, it's almost filled this gap. Should be coming down, but because of everything going on, it's kind of creeping up here. So I would not be buying it up here. I'd be selling it up here. I think it's more likely to come back to the bottom of the Bollinger Band. It likes to do that when it gets to the top. See how it works? All right, guys. I'm going to give you a couple more real quick, and then I'm going to call it a night. We are after 9, but I do want to go over some. We went over BIB. We went over Gilead earlier. Gold's a different one. Gold, guys, I've seen some big long-term bullish bets on gold the last 3 days. but it's not going anywhere at this point. So I have not made a bet on gold since the election. So I'm just basically not touching it here at this point. It is, Kevin. I would rather hedge with the VIX because it's so cheap here, or out of the money puts on the ETFs because they're so cheap. So you can definitely do that with the metals, but I'd rather do that. My thoughts on BABA. I don't know where the top is on BABA. I do think BABA takes out its all-time high here. So I think we're going to go back up and retest this 147.50 area. TNA is the last one I'm going to do tonight, guys. I love doing this for you, but my throat is gone. I've been talking a lot today, and I'm a little beat. TNA is trading with the IWM. They keep trying to buy calls on this thing, by the way, just so you know. They bought 1,000 of the 54.50s yesterday, I think. Memory serves me, something like that. There's still an open interest. So if the IWM turns, for the IWM to turn, we need energy and banks to turn up. Guys, thank you very much for joining me tonight on the webinar. I love talking to you guys. This is my last one for June. If you like what I have to say, please give me a shot. Try me in the service. Sign up, alphasharks.com. $99 for the first month. You will not be disappointed. You get tons of access to me as well. Regardless, follow me on Twitter because I put a ton of stuff up there for free. I put out stuff during the day, calls and stuff. I really want to see you guys succeed. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. Tomorrow, just be a little careful. We have a rebalancing in the IWM. We could see some really kind of crazy trades tomorrow, especially into the close. Take care. Have a good one, guys.